organize your team so that the best players lead, but that everybody gets developed, and that you play the medium to long-term game in a fair way, in a fair and decent way. Okay, and so you think, well, that's how you win a championship. I talked to a coach a while back, and he said one of the things he did to select athletes was to watch what happened when they scored a goal. And if they were celebrating on their own, you know, in sort of an egotistical way, then that wasn't such a good sign. But if they scored a goal or a touchdown or whatever it was, and their whole entire team came in and mobbed them and then like lifted them up on their shoulders, and they thought, that guy.
Death Stranding is finally out on PC. Enjoy Hideo Kojima's most
Guy is an athlete, because not only can he put the ball in the net, but he does it in a way that benefits the entire team, and that's the person you want around for the long run. So then the goal isn't just to put the ball in the goal. The goal is to put the ball in the goal the largest number of times while simultaneously benefiting as many of your fellow players as you can.
Well, although I think that's a great strategy, I don't think that's necessarily the meaning of it doesn't matter if you win or lose, it's how you play the game. I don't think people think of it in terms of like a long-term strategy for championship leagues. I think when they're saying it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game, meaning don't cheat.
Yeah.
Do your best and learn.
Right, but
learn
I think
from your endeavor.
That's right. Well, learn how to handle failure.
Right.
Learn how to handle victory.
Well, also learn from the experience itself. Like if you make a mistake and you're trying your hardest, but you make an error because someone has a counter to that, then you learn from that.
Yeah,
that is how you play the game.
Right.
If you play it stupidly and you don't think and you win just because you got lucky, that's not as good as playing intelligently
and expanding your skill
and losing.
Yes.
Because the other people are superior, and then you learn from the fact that they figured out a way to have solutions to all the problems that you present.
Yes, okay, so one of the things that you're pointing out is that while you're playing, you want to be expanding your range of skills so that you get better at playing the next game. But then you think, well, even the soccer championship isn't the whole game.
Right.
Because your life is a whole series of games, of championships of different types.
Well, the idea is that championships will come if you continue to excel and get excellent.
Yes, and also if people invite you to play.
Yes.
So there's both of them. So those are the two things. So that's the goal, right? The goal isn't to put the ball in the net. The goal is to get excellent and to be invited to play.
Right.
And the mechanism is that you put the ball in the goal. And that makes sense. See, that helps explain why people find competitive sports so unbelievably compelling. Because you can be cynical about it. You can say, well, look, there's 50,000 people there watching, you know, somebody kick a spheroid object into a net. Who the hell cares? But that's not the issue. What you are in fact doing is you're going there to watch people develop expertise and to learn to play reciprocally in a noble and ethical manner. And all of that sport, when it's done properly, is a direct physical incarnation of that ethic. And so it's not surprising that that's why people get so excited when they see an athlete do something. Imagine the best thing that you can see at a sports event is someone who does something purely in the spirit of fair play and in a manner that's unbelievably excellent. Wayne Gretzky was very good at that, right? Because he was an excellent sportsman and also unbelievably skilled. And so people loved him, and that's perfect because he was a player who played the game like it was more important to play it properly than to win, and he was on the top of his game at the same time.
Right.
And that's what you want to be in life.
He didn't cut corners.
That's right. There's no cutting corners.
Yeah.
And so that's very cool, and you see a very high order ethic emerge out of that. You want to be the kind of player that everybody. I kind of wrote about that in 12 Rules for Life when, you know, just part of my advice in Rule 5 was not to let your kids do anything that makes you dislike them. And that's part of the idea there is that, you know, if you're really on the side of your children, you help them develop in a manner that makes them eminently desirable to other children and capable of interacting properly with adults, because then the whole world opens up to them. And that's a really, and you do that. The thing that's cool about that too is that, and this is what makes the postmodern and the Marxist types so wrong, is that your best strategy for success in life isn't the exercise of raw power. It's a really counterproductive strategy. It doesn't even work very well for advanced animals. Your best strategy is skill and reciprocity. So, and there's a real high order ethic in that. That has nothing to do. So the idea that our hierarchies are predicated on power and they're corrupt because of that, and the whole world is a battleground between hierarchies of, different power hierarchies, and it's winner take all, and the devil take the hindmost. That's completely inappropriate psychologically.
There's a real situation where you very rarely find people who excel at competition and who have benefited from competition who are against competition. And you very rarely find people who have no skill in competition at all and who have never engaged and have shied away from it their whole life that support it and believe that it's an important part of our culture. I think people want to believe and they want to support things that reinforce their idea of how they're living their life correctly. And if they shy away from competition, if it makes them nervous, if they've never excelled at it, if it doesn't feel right to them, if it makes them uncomfortable, they want to feel like there's some better way. And this is one of the things that leads young, sensitive, kind, compassionate people towards socialism. And this concept that capitalism and any form of competition at all ultimately is going to lead to a few people hogging up all the wealth and dominating all the people.
Well, the other thing that's kind of sad about that is that no matter what system you set up, that's the outcome. Like if you look at the Pareto distribution, so if that's the distribution of wealth, you find that in every society that we know of, whether it's capitalist or socialist or communist for that matter, a small proportion of the people have a disproportionate amount of the resources. So the other thing that I've been trying to explain in my lectures is that if you were really concerned about the dispossessed and the poor, you wouldn't put hierarchical dispossession at the feet of capitalism, because it's a way worse problem than that. Because the Marxist types, they think, well, if we didn't have capitalism, there wouldn't be hierarchies and there wouldn't be dispossession. And that's complete bloody rubbish, because the problem of hierarchy and the problem of dispossession is way deeper than the problem of capitalism. So like if you look at Neolithic grave sites way before there was capitalism, you see that a small number of people are buried with all the gold. So the fact of unequal distribution of resources, that's as old as hierarchies are old. It's unbelievably old. And so for the leftists to take an anti-capitalist position and assume that that's going to be of benefit to the dispossessed is an idea that's at least 145 years out of date, as far as I'm concerned.
But we do want to discourage tyranny. We do want to keep that. We do want to keep someone from accumulating so much wealth that they dominate the world and have a disproportionate effect on culture and do things that are detrimental, that could be in fact detrimental for decades and decades to come. I mean, look, to this day...
Well, that's why you have a balance of power in the United States, too.
Right.
Because, the thing is, it's not the case... It should, the fact that you can't characterize the West as a patriarchal tyranny doesn't mean that hierarchies don't become tyrannical. Sometimes they do. And we have to be alert to that. I mean, that's been known for a very long time.
So is it fair to say that the West has some aspects of hierarchy